I got a couple takes, but one of the takes that I have, which I've been thinking about for the last few years, is the audit function is resistant to change.
100% agree. Yeah.
Like tech audits are stuck in the 90s, in the past.
Yep. Yep. And I think the change has been because they fear that innovation is going to take their job, but I think it's the opposite. I believe innovation is going to elevate their jobs and elevate them to be more valuable to the organization. But to your point, it's been such a resistance, man. Like, and it's been frustrating. Like, as somebody who really loves this field and like wants us to be better, it's been frustrating to be met with resistance at kind of every step of this journey. I would say over the last 8 years, really. I remember back in like 2017, I was at Coalfire, and AWS was, didn't have the greatest security features that it has now, but there was some basic cross-account IAM access stuff, some trusted advisor stuff that you could do. I tried to propose it, man, internally and then to a client. I got shut down so fast. They said no chance. And I think that's like, and obviously like that was a long time ago, but I think that energy still exists. I think there's still an existence of resistance to change.
I mean, you're right on point, AJ. I mean, you're auditing cloud infrastructure, AI models, DevOps pipelines, and you're using like manual checklists, Excel spreadsheets, screenshots, and you have all these tools. Like there are now these cloud security posture management solutions you could use, like AWS Security Hub, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, Google Security
Yep.
Command Center, and we're not integrating these solutions. I mean, to get real-time data to assist and leverage within the audits.
Yeah, and I think the big risk here is that it's just not possible to do a good job manually because of how much data is there out there, because things change. Everything's ephemeral now. I'm going to spin up, I'm going to spin down. And organizations, and if we think about just CI/CD pipelines, continuous integration, continuous deployment or development, however you want to define that D, that means that we're shipping code all day. Like changes are happening all day, all throughout the so you there's no way I can truly evaluate by saying, let me get a list of all of these things. Like that's just not that doesn't make sense anymore. And it's frustrating because to your point, there's all these tools. If you think about where the CSPM space was 5 years ago compared to today, the amount
Right.
of things that you can do with Security Hub today, I mean, there's no reason for any infrastructure. I 100% believe if you're hosted on the cloud, all of your infrastructure control should be automated. There's zero
Right.
reason why not. Because regardless if you're using the third-party tool or the native ones, there's tools out, whatever you're using, and we've seen on the rest of security, shift left has happened. Everybody, we're all talking about shift left, DevSecOps, but why hasn't GRC and on audit and compliance is still over here? We haven't shifted it left.
Yep. We need to shift left, stop incorporating security at the beginning, of the cycle as soon as possible, as soon as feasible, right? I mean, I know we still rely as auditors, they still love Excel. Excel is the king. I mean, Excel was created, but it was not meant to carry the whole industry on its back, right? Like, you can do
Right.
all the pivot tables you want, but like you say, CI/CD, things are changing continuously, right?
Yep.
You know,
I think that's a funny. I'm so glad you mentioned Excel because so many people in audit and GRC run away from programming and they run away from learning how to code. And I will argue if you know how to do all those cool formulas in Excel, you can learn Python, man. You can figure it
right.
out. Like you just got to have more faith in yourself and be willing to put the work in and be consistent because they do all these cool things in Excel. I see people they're wizards in Excel. And I'm like, yo, you should be coding. Like you should be doing Python because if you know that, you can do it. And to your point, like the industry was not supposed to be built on Excel. I know, Mike, you have a cloud security and audit fundamentals course on LinkedIn that's been doing amazing. I think that's a great starting point for folks that are wondering, like, all right, I believe you guys. I think I should level up. What could they look for in that course to learn more kind of about some of the things we're talking about?
Yeah, the cloud security course is very, very useful course, especially others can leverage it because you learn about cloud security fundamentals, the services that are in the cloud, and some of the concepts that you really need to be familiar with, the shared responsibility model, knowing what the cloud service provider is responsible for and what you as the cloud customer is responsible for. That will help the auditors kind of frame into mind like what I need to be auditing, like what part is AWS responsible for, as far as infrastructure or the applications or even the responsibilities as far as who's doing what, right? So that's very, very important that I stress. And then also just learning about the services like IAM, for instance. Like we say in the cloud, it's on the internet, so it's accessible to everybody. So IAM is your first control, checking for the multi-factor authentication, the other controls, list privileges, responsibilities, and segregation of duties. Other controls as far as how you store your data, right? Making sure you have encryption, knowing the different services you have there, within each cloud service, right? They're similar, but it's different, right? Ensuring, some of these cloud service providers, they come with inbuilt default settings, right? So you have to go in there and make sure that the cloud is configured securely. So leveraging a lot of the tools that are out there, like infrastructure as code, make sure that, whatever organizations you're auditing are not creating, your infrastructure manually, but they're leveraging these tools that can standardize the infrastructure and make sure it's secure from the get-go so that you're mitigating your misconfigurations, right? So things like that, ensuring you have logging and monitoring enabled, right?
Yep, yep. I love that. I love that. I think the key there that I tell a lot of people when I'm telling them to go learn the cloud, I'm saying the first thing I want you to do is just learn the language. To your point, what are some of the services? What does IAM actually mean in the cloud? What is a security group? Like, I think a lot of times audit professionals, GRC professionals go into these conversations very ignorant without knowing some of the things. So then they put themselves in a bad spot when the person starts asking follow-ups or realizes that you don't know what you're talking about. So just investing in an hour or so in a LinkedIn course that can help you get that concept and again speak the language. I think that's key. It's like I think people think when they hear you and I and other people say go learn cloud, they think we're saying like become a cloud expert overnight. That's not
Right.
what we're saying. Like it took me and you a long time to get these skills and to build up the skills that we have today, and it's a journey for everybody, whether you're starting out or wherever you're at. So just focus on the at the beginning learning the language, and then you'll start to do things. But I think that's great advice, and this is a good take. I think I don't know if this one's gonna cause too many people to yell at you, but you never know in the audit space, man. You never know.
I mean, it's just what I've observed, right? Like my background is auditing. I grew up as an IT auditor. So, like, these are things I've seen, and I'm like thinking about, as we progress through this profession and evolve, as you see, things every day just transforming. Like, now you're in AI, cloud was the other day, and we still have audit work programs from the 1999, Like,
Yep.
you cannot work with those programs. They have to evolve as well.